So you see here, I've taken another subsection going from the roots and feathering down just about an inch or two. We want to make it fun. She's tired of being boring Brandy. She wants to be fun Francesca.
Ooh. Fun Francesca.
Taking another thin slice. Do y'all do any kind of fun dimensional colors in the salon where y'all are at now?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Yeah?
I think more people are asking for it now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's all over Instagram. Again, I'm going to take my Rust Deep Shine Gloss and 6R and just saturate these strands all the way. And don't be afraid to get that baby saturated. Oh, and then we're going to feather up into that Ruskin 10 color. This is going to give that dimensional lived-in look.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And then we're just going to lay another foil on top and fold that in. Do y'all have any questions so far?
I don't think so.
Another subsection.
What color was the regrowth?
The new growth color that I mixed, it is a Ruskin 10 line, and it's going to be 4N and 6 CG. It's going to be half an ounce of each color with 2 ounces of the Ruskin 10 developer.
Okay, that's awesome.
So is it okay if it stays on there longer than 10 minutes?
Absolutely. So with our resistant white gray clients, you can let it sit longer. It can sit up to 20 minutes. And with techniques that like this that I use every day, almost every day in the salon, if I want to, you know, customize a Ruskin 10 root color for these gray clients, so when next time she comes in and she just wants to cover her grays, and maybe we'll just refresh her ends with toner, or if they're good, then we won't have to mess with her ends. Then I could just make that same color that I just made right now and go and cover her grays. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I always try to work smarter and not harder.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that's my motto. And I hope that today you take what I'm teaching you and it helps you succeed behind the chair.
Melanie, what would you charge for this in the salon?
For this, I would charge at least $175.
Cool.
And all I'm doing is putting about 10 foils.
So
That's
nice
it.
quick technique.
Yes.
How long from start to finish do you feel like it takes you?
It takes me about 45 minutes to apply the color. And it's just going to sit, up to 20 minutes. And if you rinse and style, she can go. Unless she's going to get a cut, then there you go. You're making $175 within 2 hours. You know, I always think about how much money do I want to make an hour. So I go with that and then decide what I'm going to charge.
Now, are you charging the same when she comes in for her touch-up, or is it a different price?
No, when she comes in for her new growth only, I'm going to charge at least $90.
Okay.
And that is
Because
going
it
to make
takes less time.
right.
Cool.
And not only that, you know you're going to make your money within just 1 hour of her getting her grays covered with our Ruskin 10. And you're not taking as long. That's what I really love about this new color line. It's helped me so much with time and making more money behind the chair. Just take a little bit of this color and feather that in.
That's amazing. I had never heard of the color before.
Really?
The first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew color could work in 10 minutes.
Me either until now. And now it's my favorite go-to. Now, as I start to almost get to the top of the head, I am going to start getting the front fringe area covered so that can start processing, because once I get to the top, I'm going to start foiling. I don't want the dimension to be at the very top of her head. We want it lived in and inside of her hair. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. section. You know, since I've been with the company, I have found that these different tips and tricks help. So don't ever be afraid. Don't ever be afraid. If you ever feel like, oh, this is gonna go too dark. Oh, this isn't gonna be light enough. Always just try it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know the rules to break them. And that's another go-to motto that Russ stands by. All right, just a couple more foils, and then we will continue to cover her grays in the back. Because like I said, we're just working around her face and fringe area to marry into the cut that we're gonna do next.
So you're just foiling the front.
Right.
Cool.
This is just,
That's a fast technique.
yes, a very fast technique. This is something fun because Brandy here has not been wanting to be fun lately and has only one solid color in the last 5 years.
She's gonna get a boyfriend now.
Yeah.
I hope so. Y'all have any questions?
I don't think so.
No, I'm just excited.
I'm excited to see that red. It's so pretty and bright in the foil.
Yes, and I love the Rust Deep Shine Reds. Our color line is amazing, guys. Now then. With our color line, we do have a permanent line that you are going to mix with 10, 20, 30, or 40 developer, and it is going to be 1 to 1.5 ratio. So with, like I'm doing, gray coverage, you don't normally have to use 20 developer with our line. You can go with 10 developer. You can go 1-to-1 ratio for maximum gray coverage as well, and let it sit up to 45 minutes. But with Ruskin 10, you're able to get that same maximum gray coverage in 10 to 20 minutes. How do y'all feel about that?
That's really cool.
Great.
I always like to send my color clients home with our Pure Mix pomegranate line. It's vegan, cruelty-free, just like the Ruskin 10 color line. Our permanent line is also going to have only 2% ammonia. All right. That was our last foil. Now what I'm going to do is just fold this and then get to the top of the hair so we can continue to cover her grays. She's got a lot of hair, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Don't y'all agree?
Do you
Yeah.
feel if somebody has more density to their hair that you would want to put more foils in the front, or would you do the same amount?
Honestly, since she's never had any dimension in her hair, I'm not going to put as much. I'm going to start her off slow with this new
Okay.
look because I don't want her to feel like it's too much and have to come back in and use more time for more coloring. But yes, if the more hair, the more I would put in the front and fringe area. So we're just going to start her off slow and see how she likes it. You know, a lot of clients, they come in and they're scared of change. That's where it's like, okay, but do you want this client to continue to just come in for the same basic thing and then paying the same amount? Or, you know, sometimes we go up on our prices, just getting the same thing. You're making this range of money off this one client. Or, hey, how about you just let me put in a few pieces of dimension and you give her the haircut that's going to marry with it within the new color. Then she gets to try that, and what if she wants more or wants to change it up next time where you're making more money? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At all?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's all fun and all that to try something new, but sometimes clients are just scared of change. And we, as educators, are able to make them feel comfortable with this color line that we have access to remind them like, hey, don't be afraid. You don't like it, we can change it up next time. But at least with this technique, you're starting them off slow It's not going to be right on top where it's like crazy noticeable. Because some clients will be like, oh, this is too much. For example, I just did a highlight client the other day who said, oh, I want to be really blonde. I want a lot of blonde. And then 2 weeks later, she's like, hey, you think you can add some low lights? So they're always unsure until they kind of have it, you know, for a couple of weeks up to a month, so that where they want to change it up. So that is why I'm keeping this technique. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it. I like this lived-in technique.
Yes.
I'm so excited to share it with you once it's all done, because the colors, when they marry into each other, and remember they're customizable, you won't believe what you get as a result with this color line.
If you have a client that always gets a lot of foils, a lot of blonding, how could you introduce them to this kind of technique of lived-in color when
Right.
they're so used to so much lightness? I don't know. Can you help me?
Yes, I can. With a client in that situation, I always want to start off with the blending, the root shadow. That's where root shadowing and root blending come in. You know, a lot of times a client wants to see that demarcation. They want that blonde at the top. But then when you feel like it's starting to be too much, or they need a change, or they're starting to feel like it's too much, and it's like the same thing happening every time they leave your chair, then maybe just talk them into, hey, how about we try this today? But to make them feel comfortable and not scared, or like you tell them a certain way, hey, I'm gonna do this on you, and then they go home and think, oh, I don't like it. So I always just think about how I'm going to say it to them when I start something different. And I always go a shade or two darker than the blonde they have. So you can start them off slow. You don't want to always go like 3 or 4 levels darker. Does that make sense at all?
Great.
So
That's a
maybe with
great
like,
tip.
maybe with like a neutral. So say you get them to a level 8 or 9, you can go with a 6N or 7N on our line. With our gloss line too, because that's going to cover those demarcation lines of the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also going to give them a different look and not as bright blonde. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, we're finishing this application now, and we're gonna let her process up to 20 minutes. And once we get her rinsed out, we're gonna start our cut. Sound good?
Yay.
Sounds good.